Good morning, artists. Mrs. Langless here, and today we're coming back to our cityscape that we've created using the one-point perspective techniques that we've been practicing lately. And at this point, you should have an artwork that is full of buildings and perhaps, some different streets and things to kind of fill up your whole paper. So if you haven't taken the time to do that, please go ahead and do that, and maybe go back to the videos that were before this if you need to. All right, so today what we're going to focus on is really all about the details. And the details are what are going to make your artwork unique to you, and it's also going to make your artwork start to look more realistic. Because right now, really what we have are a bunch of three-dimensional rectangles, right? Rectangular solids, just like in this space. And now we need to take them from boxes and turn them actually into buildings. So details. And really, I want to encourage you to go beyond this video and add things. You might even want to do like some Google image searches for different cityscapes. Maybe look at some photographs of cities. Since we don't have any large cities around here, it's always great to work from references, because I'm going to show you how to add different roof lines and windows and some other details, but there's so much more out there beyond what I can share with you today. So feel free to go on and look around and make your artwork, special and unique to you. So anyway, with that being said, let's get started. So I am going to start first by showing you actually how to create some windows. And really, I will tell you that this is probably the most time-consuming part of the artwork. If you take a look in this artwork, windows can be very different depending on, their size and shape. Sometimes when you're in a city, it actually appears as though the building is made of all windows or made of glass. And so I'm going to show you how to make that using the vanishing point. Sometimes you just have different shapes like rectangles or squares. You might even have circular windows or triangular windows. So any of those are great options. What I'm going to do is just show you how to draw them so that they're in perspective. So for example, these ones you're seeing straight on, so they just appear as rectangles. These over here, though, you actually have to use the vanishing point to draw them. You can't draw them just as rectangles because they're on the side of the building that is drawn using that vanishing point. So it's moving away from you. So the rectangles or squares will appear to get smaller as they move further away. And we're going to create that illusion by using our vanishing point. Okay, so windows. And again, you can add them, I would choose a variety because typically that's what happens in a city. Remember, for this drawing, you do need a good ruler and a pencil with a great eraser. I'm finding that as well. And so if you don't have that, pause the video, go grab those materials, and let's get started. I'm going to start just like I did on that other drawing by just showing you how to create some windows. This is the quickest way that I've found to do it, is that I place my ruler down, and again, I want it to be flush, so you'll notice that I'm checking myself there. I could also use this line right here to hold my ruler flush, so that might be a little bit easier, so I think I'm going to do that. So I'm just going to create some very simple rectangles, and what I have found works best is that I just create and I try to just eye it. I usually don't measure. If, again, you're someone that likes to be super precise, you can totally measure if you'd like, but I just kind of eye it and I say, okay, on this side of the building, I'm going to do 2 large windows. So what I did was to create just a small line here and a small line here, and I tried to make them about the same length, okay? And I centered them. Now I'm going to go up to the top and I'm going to hold it flush again, and I'm going to create the tops of the windows. So one here, one here, okay? And you may need to do a little erasing, which is why I mentioned the eraser. So I'm going to take this, hold it flush to the top of my paper, and now I'm just going to do the sides. So I'm going to go down, I'm going to come over, and vertical line, and I'm going to do the same over here. Okay? So this is a really great way to make 2 windows at the same time, basically, and they're relatively precise. Okay. And of course you could do that down here as well. Now, one of the things that I didn't mention is on some of your buildings, you may actually even be able to see the doorways. So if you're doing that, you want to think about how far up the top of your door would be. So let's say I'm going to create a doorway that's kind of wide here. I held it flush. Look, it looks like a face. I kind of like that. And I'm going to make it come down. And again. Okay, and I could leave it like this, or if I wanted to say, okay, this is a really special doorway, so now I'm just gonna kind of very lightly sketch this in here. Maybe, you know, it's got one of these special windows that looks like this. So this is where you can do a little bit of freehand drawing as well to kind of make it a little bit more elaborate. And so maybe this is the door, and maybe it's got 3 little places to come in here. And again, I'm not measuring, I'm just kind of eyeing it. And if it doesn't look right, I just erase and remake it. That's usually how I go about things. So there's this, maybe I'd add another window in here. I don't know, but I'm gonna move on. So now I'm gonna make the windows on this side of the doorway. This side of the building. So in order to make them, what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna come over and I wanna make them at the same point or kind of the same point. So I'm just gonna make a little bit of a dot kind of where I think the window should be on that side. Now I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to make on the vanishing point, I'm placing my ruler on the vanishing point, and I'm just gonna make a little line. That's gonna be the top of my window. Now I'm gonna come down to that little dot I made so that it would be sort of on the same level, and I'm gonna make another line. So that's the top and the bottom of my window. They have to be drawn to the vanishing point if they're on the side of the building. Now I'm gonna make the vertical lines that connect these two. So I'm holding it flush, and I'll see something like this. Okay, so you're seeing those windows, but they're on an angle. They also will appear to be much thinner, of course, than the other one. So this time I'm going to start with the vertical line to do this next. It's too close together. Too close together, so I think I'll move it a little bit further over, see if I can squeeze this window on here. I'm using the vanishing point for the top edge right about here. I didn't make that line quite long enough. And again, this one is not a great example to be showing you right now because it's just going to like kind of show a sliver of this window. Okay, that will kind of look like that. I kind of filled it in a little bit when I was drawing it, so I would go back to that. Maybe I'll add some more windows over here just to kind of reinforce what I just showed you. Okay, so take a look, vanishing point. I'm just going to place my ruler here, and I'm going to make 1, 2, 3 windows this time. Okay, now you'll notice I made the third one larger because it's coming toward us. Okay, so it's going to appear to get larger. Now I'm going to make the bottoms of the windows. So vanishing point, okay, 1, 2, 3. And I'm kind of just guessing where those lines should be. So I'm going to have to come back and erase eventually. Now I'm going to hold it vertical. I know that looks super weird right now. I'm going to hold it vertical, and I'm going to make 1 line there and then another line here. Okay. Didn't make that one come quite long enough, so I'm just going to kind of fix it. There we go. Now I'm going to make this window and come down. You can see I'm way off on some of the lines that I made, so I've got to kind of alter what I was doing here. Okay. So again, your eraser is like your best friend in this. Best friend. All right. And line here, and then a vertical line here. And I think I should have my windows. So now my windows are drawn in perspective. I could come back, add a doorway in here, whatever I wanted, okay? So that's how to create sort of separate windows. Now, if you want to make it look like your building is totally made of glass, okay, which often is the case in cities, basically, you're going to be almost making like a checkerboard. So let me show you what I mean by that. So the first thing I'm going to do, I have this building right here, okay? And what I'm going to do is, let's see, I guess I will hold this flush, and I'm going to make a line that comes horizontal, and then another line that is horizontal, and it probably would stop right about there, horizontal, so holding it flush. Okay, now those same horizontal lines, I'm actually going to come over to the side now. So you place your ruler where it would connect there, and then on the vanishing point, and you make a line, and then vanishing point to the next line. This is a really cool illusion, I think, when you do this correctly. It really makes the building look even more three-dimensional. And I'm going to try to imagine where that next set, even though I don't see it here because it's blocked by this building, I'm going to try to imagine where that next set of windows would be. Probably right there. And then there'd be an entrance there. So right now it just looks like a striped building. Maybe that's how you want to leave it. That looks kind of cool. But if you wanted to make lines coming down this way, you could do that too. So I'm going to show you that. So I'm just going to try to equally space them. All right. So I'm going to start maybe right about there. I'm holding it flush, line down. Now I'm going to come over here. Let's see. Maybe right about there, hoping that it's gonna, whoop, my ruler moved a little bit. That's okay, no big deal. And then maybe right about here. That's way bigger than it should be, but I could change that if I wanted to. Go back with my ruler and get that correctly spaced. And then I'm gonna do the same thing over here. So maybe there is a section here. And then maybe a section here of windows that come down. Whoops, I went too far. All kinds of mistakes, but that's how you learn. So, all right. So there's my building that's made of glass. Now you can continue and just add, it makes sense to add windows to all your buildings in some way, shape, or form. Now let's talk roof lines. And here I was trying to keep this video brief, and it's not happening. So apologize for that, but here comes the roof lines. So if you look in this one, you'll notice that, you can make roofs that are triangular shaped like this, and they all come together at a point at the top. I believe it's called a hip roof. Then there's the more sort of traditional roof that you see on like a lot of houses, just like this. And it has to be drawn to the vanishing point. So I want to show you that really quick. I'm going to start right here, and I'm actually going to have to erase all of these lines, but I'm going to give this sort of a traditional triangular roof. So I'm going to start right about here, and I'm just going to make a triangle. So I'm going to come up from one side and then to the other. Okay, so here's my triangular roof, right? Now, I'm going to erase, and I'm going to place my ruler on the vanishing point and on the top of the triangle. Now, from the top, very tip of the triangle, I'm going to make a line that comes down toward the vanishing point. Now I need to make the other side. So this is where it would connect here. And then this one needs to come down to here. And you have your roof. Okay, so that's one way to make a roof line. A different way to make a roof line is, again, to have it coming all to the top. So I'm just going to erase right here where it would overlap. And this one's going to come up to a point. So I'm going to make it right about, let's say here. So you kind of have to eye it, or at least I do. I'm sure there's some drawing rules that would make it super precise, but I don't really bother myself with those too much. I just kind of eye it and make it work. So there is one part. Now this part is going to go right to the other corner and come down. So again, you have to erase where it overlaps because you wouldn't be able to see through that roof unless it was made of glass, of course, which maybe that could happen. It could be cool. All right, so there's my roof line for that. Now you might notice that in some of my other examples, I've done different types of roof lines. Of course, there's so many more, so please go on, do a Google search for an actual city and, see what kind of awesome details you could add. So speaking of that, I wanted to show you some examples that you've seen in the past and just give you some ideas. So you can see the different window examples here. You can also see the different roof examples. I also like how this student put some additional buildings on top of her buildings, like there's little rooms in here. She also did a fire escape, which I thought was really cool. Some decks on things. She even added curtains and other little details. So I'd love for you guys to just think about all those wonderful things you could add. She's got a pool up here. How cool is that? All right, now look at this example. So you can see these are a totally different type of window. It's still following the same rules of the vanishing point, but hers are these ones are curved. Oh my goodness. They've got lights going on, sidewalks, lines on the street. Here too, windows, doors, great examples of the details that you can add. And I wanted to show you this one too. I kind of like how they just like shaded on one side of the building, because then, you know, that's in shadow. It still looks realistic, but you don't have to put all the time and effort into adding windows on the sides that are like actually facing you. So that's kind of an interesting idea. I love how they added the vehicles as well, and they're really three-dimensional. And I love all these little details like the towers and things on the buildings. So please, please, please take the time to play around with any and all details and fill your buildings so that they look more realistic. And then during our next video, we're just going to talk about adding color and the options there to see what you guys want to come up with. All right, have a great week. Keep up the great work, and I will see you soon.